I was standing in the hallway outside my own bedroom when I heard my daughter-in-law's voice, cold and calculated, speaking into her phone. "I'm just waiting for the old woman to get sick enough that we can dump her in a nursing home. She'll die alone there and we'll finally get this house." I froze, my hand on the doorknob, my blood turning to ice. She didn't know I was there. She thought I was napping, thought I was one of my confused spells she'd been telling everyone about. But I heard every word, every single venomous word. What Vanessa didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that the confused old woman she was planning to warehouse in some neglectful facility was sharper than she'd ever be. The woman she wanted to bury alive had $2.3 million in investments and the will to use every penny of it to destroy her. And the nursing home she was researching, the one she'd already picked out for me, I was about to buy it, and then I was going to make her work there. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back. Let me show you exactly how my son's wife tried to steal my life, and exactly how I made her pay for it in ways she never imagined. Because by the time I was done, she wasn't just defeated, she was on her knees, literally scrubbing floors in the very place she'd planned to abandon me. Welcome to my story. If you stay with me until the end, I promise you'll see justice served so perfectly, so completely, that you'll believe in karma again. Before we continue, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to hear my story. If you're comfortable, let me know where you're listening from, and what time it is where you are. Now let me tell you my story. My name is Dorothy Louise Hartwell, and I'm 70 years old. I'm a retired registered nurse with 45 years of experience, mostly at Chicago Memorial Hospital where I worked in cardiac care. I'm a widow. My husband James died 8 years ago from a massive stroke. We never had much money, but we were careful, smart, invested what we could. James was an electrician with the city, had a good pension. I had mine from the hospital. We paid off our house in Bronzeville 30 years ago, the same house I still live in today. The house is worth $650,000 now. The neighborhood gentrified over the last 15 years. Young white professionals everywhere. Coffee shops on every corner. My property taxes tripling. But I stayed. This is my home. This is where I raised my son Marcus. This is where James died in our bed, holding my hand, telling me he loved me one last time. Marcus is my only child. He's 38 years old, works as an HR manager at a mid-sized company, makes decent money. He's a good man, or at least he was. Gentle, kind, maybe too gentle, too easily influenced. When he brought Vanessa home 3 years ago, I knew immediately something was off. Vanessa was 29 then, beautiful in that calculated way, blonde hair always perfectly styled, nails always done, clothes always expensive looking. She worked in pharmaceutical sales, drove a leased Mercedes, talked constantly about her career goals and lifestyle brand. She was polite to me at first, sweet even, but there was something cold in her eyes, something predatory. They got married 6 months after meeting. I tried to talk to Marcus about rushing into it, but he was in love, blinded by her beauty and attention. Mom, she's amazing. She's ambitious. She's driven. She makes me want to be better. I bit my tongue. I went to the wedding. I smiled for photos. I welcomed her to the family because that's what you do. For the first 2 years they lived in a condo downtown. I saw them maybe once a month for dinner. Everything seemed fine, normal, distant. Then, 18 months ago, everything changed. I'd been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Manageable, controlled with medication and diet. Nothing serious. Millions of people live full lives with diabetes. But when I mentioned it casually to Marcus during a phone call, suddenly Vanessa was very interested. Within a week, she called me. "Dorothy, Marcus and I have been talking. We're worried about you living alone with your diabetes. What if you have a blood sugar crisis? What if you fall? We think it would be better if we moved in with you. Just temporarily, to help you manage your health." "I'm fine," I told her. "My diabetes is controlled. My doctor says I'm doing great. I don't need help." "But Dorothy, we'd feel so much better knowing someone was there. And honestly, our lease is up next month, and we were thinking of buying a house anyway. This way we can save money, help you, and everyone benefits." I should have said no. I should have held firm, but she played it perfectly. She made it sound like I'd be helping them, not the other way around. And Marcus called later, his voice worried. "Mom, please, let us do this. Let us take care of you like you took care of me." So, I said yes. They moved in with what they said was just the essentials, but turned out to be everything they owned. Vanessa immediately started rearranging my house. "Don't you think the living room would flow better if we moved the couch?" These curtains are so dark, let's get something lighter. Dorothy, when was the last time you updated this kitchen? I let it slide. I told myself she was just trying to make the space comfortable for them, trying to contribute, but then she started coming to my doctor's appointments. I should go with you, she'd say, to take notes to make sure we understand everything the doctor says. At first Dr. Patterson, who I'd seen for 15 years, would address his comments to me, but Vanessa would interrupt. She's been forgetting to take her medications. I hadn't. She's been confused about her meal planning. I wasn't. We're worried about her living independently. Dr. Patterson would look at me with concern. Dorothy, is this true? Are you having memory issues? No, I'd say firmly. I'm fine. I take my medications on schedule. I track my blood sugar. I'm completely capable. She doesn't realize when she's confused, Vanessa would say in this sad, worried voice. That's part of the problem. After 3 appointments like this, Dr. Patterson started noting in my chart that my daughter-in-law reported cognitive concerns. I saw it when I requested my records. I was furious. But I didn't know how to fight it without sounding exactly like what Vanessa was claiming. A confused old woman in denial. At home, Vanessa started doing other things. Small things. Insidious things. She'd hide my reading glasses, then find them in the refrigerator. Dorothy, why did you put these in here? She'd move my medications to different spots, then express concern when I couldn't find them immediately. She'd ask me the same question 3 times in a day, then tell Marcus, your mother keeps forgetting our conversations. Marcus, to his credit, seemed uncomfortable with all this. Vanessa, I think you're overreacting. Mom seems fine to me. That's because you don't see her during the day, Vanessa would reply. I work from home half the week. I see the little things. The confusion, the forgetfulness. We need to face reality. She's declining. I started to doubt myself. Was I forgetting things? Was I confused? No. No, I was sharp, capable, independent, but the constant gaslighting was exhausting. Then came the day everything crystallized. The day I stopped doubting myself and started fighting back. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I'd been to my book club at the library, came home around 3 p.m. Vanessa's car was in the driveway. She was supposed to be working from home. I came in quietly through the back door, not trying to be stealthy, just being quiet by habit. I heard her voice from upstairs, from my guest bedroom that they'd taken over. She was on the phone and her voice had none of the sweet, concerned tone she used around me. I'm telling you, Britt, it's taking forever. The old bitch is healthier than she looks. Vanessa laughed. I've been trying to build a case that she's incompetent, getting the doctors to document confusion, but she keeps showing up to appointments completely lucid. It's annoying as fuck. I stood frozen at the bottom of the stairs. No, Marcus doesn't suspect anything, Vanessa continued. He feels guilty actually, thinks we're being such good children taking care of her. He has no idea I'm planning to have her declared incompetent and get guardianship. Yeah, I've been researching it. Once we get guardianship, we can put her in a nursing home, sell this house and finally live our lives. This place is worth at least $650Ks, maybe more. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might actually have a medical crisis. I already know which nursing home. There's this place called Sunshine Hills. Total shithole, but it takes Medicaid. We dump her there, she'll probably die within a year from neglect. And then boom, inheritance. What? No, she doesn't have much money. Just the house and like a small pension. But the house is the prize. I felt rage like I'd never felt in my life. Pure, cold, calculated rage. Trust me, Britt, I've done this before. Well, not exactly this, but similar. Remember my first husband's parents? Same playbook. It works. Okay, I gotta go. Marcus will be home soon and I need to play the concerned wife. Love you, bye. I heard her footsteps moving around upstairs. I quietly went back out the back door, got in my car and drove around the block. I sat there shaking, my hands gripping the steering wheel. She'd done this before. This was a pattern, this was her plan. And my son, my gentle, trusting son, had no idea he'd married a monster. I drove for an hour thinking, planning, forcing my mind to work like it used to in the hospital when we had a crisis and I needed to stay calm, stay sharp, save lives. By the time I came home I knew what I had to do. I had to investigate. I had to gather evidence. I had to protect myself and wake up my son. And I had to do it all while pretending to be the confused old woman Vanessa thought I was. I had to become the prey that hunts the hunter. The next morning, after Marcus left for work and Vanessa went to the gym, I made a phone call. Bennett Investigations. This is Michael speaking. Michael, this is Dorothy Hartwell. You might not remember me, but I was your mother Eleanor's nurse at Chicago Memorial 15 years ago. I took care of her during her cancer treatment. There was a pause. Mrs. Hartwell, of course I remember you. You were so kind to my mother. You held her hand during the worst of it. She talked about you until the day she died. I'm glad I could be there for her. Michael, I need your help now. I need a private investigator and I need someone I can trust completely. What's going on? I believe my daughter-in-law is planning to have me declared incompetent, institutionalize me and steal my house. And I think she's done this before. Another pause. When can you come to my office? That afternoon I met Michael Bennett in his small office in Hyde Park. He was in his 40s now, successful professional. He listened to my story without interrupting, taking notes. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. Mrs. Hartwell, what you're describing is elder financial abuse and fraud. If she's done this before, we need to find out when, where and to whom. Can you do that? I can do that. Give me her full name, date of birth if you know it, and any other information you have. I gave him everything I knew about Vanessa Cole, now Vanessa Hartwell, her maiden name, her hometown in Wisconsin, her previous marriage that Marcus had mentioned once in passing. I'll start digging, Michael said. But Mrs. Hartwell, I need you to be very careful. If she's as calculating as you say, she's watching you. Don't let her know you suspect anything. I won't. I promised. I'm going to play the confused old lady she thinks I am. Over the next 2 weeks I gave the performance of my life. I forgot conversations. I misplaced things. I asked the same questions multiple times. I shuffled when I walked instead of my usual brisk pace. Vanessa was delighted. Marcus, did you see her this morning? She asked me 3 times what day it was. And yesterday she couldn't remember if she'd taken her medication. Marcus looked concerned. Maybe we should take her back to the doctor. I already made an appointment, Vanessa said sweetly. This Friday. At that appointment, with Vanessa sitting right next to me, I played my part. I seemed confused about the date. I hesitated when Dr. Patterson asked about my medications. I acted like I couldn't quite remember what I'd eaten for breakfast. Dr. Patterson's concern deepened. Dorothy, I'm going to refer you to a neurologist. I want to rule out dementia or other cognitive issues. Is that really necessary? I asked, my voice quavering perfectly. I think it's important, he said gently. Just to be safe. Vanessa squeezed my hand. We'll get through this together, Dorothy. I wanted to slap her hand away. Instead, I squeezed back weakly. Thank you, dear. But while I was playing confused patient, I was also being very busy. I went to my bank, a different branch where Vanessa wouldn't see me, and reviewed all my accounts. I discovered she'd been forging my signature on checks. Small amounts, $200 here, $300 there over the past 6 months, total about $8,000. I didn't confront her. I documented everything. I made copies. I saved them in a safe deposit box she didn't know about. I also went to see my lawyer, Richard Chen, who'd handled James's estate. Richard, I need to make some changes to my estate planning. I told him, and I need to do it in a way that can't be contested or undone. I explained the situation. Richard's face grew darker with every sentence. Dorothy, what she's doing is criminal. You should go to the police. Not yet, I said. I need more evidence. I need to know her full plan. And I need to make sure Marcus is protected. He's a victim here too. He just doesn't know it. What do you want to do? I want to set up an irrevocable trust. Put the house in it. Make it so that even if someone gets guardianship over me, they can't touch the house. It stays in trust for 20 years after my death. And only then does Marcus inherit, and only if he's divorced from Vanessa. Richard nodded slowly. That's smart. Very smart. What else? I want to update my will. Vanessa gets nothing. If Marcus is still married to her when I die, he gets only a small amount, $10,000. Everything else goes to charity. Consider it done. I'll have the paperwork ready next week. While I waited for Richard to prepare the documents and for Michael to complete his investigation, I thought about my money. The money that Vanessa had no idea existed. When James and I were young, we were broke. He was an apprentice electrician making barely anything. I was a new nurse at a free clinic. We lived in a tiny apartment, ate rice and beans, saved every penny. But we were smart about what we saved. James's father had been a Pullman porter, one of the old generation of black men who worked the trains. He'd taught James about investing, about the stock market, about building wealth slowly and carefully. So we invested, small amounts at first, $50 a month, into index funds. When we got raises, we increased it. When James got his city job with a good pension, we invested even more. When I moved to Chicago Memorial with better pay, we maxed out our retirement accounts. We bought this house in 1985 for $62,000. It was a stretch then. Now it was worth more than 10 times that. But the house wasn't even the biggest asset. It was the investments. 40 years of steady, consistent investing. Compound interest doing its magic. Living below our means. Never buying new cars. Never taking expensive vacations. Never keeping up with the Joneses. When James died, I had $1.8 million in investment accounts. I was 62, I kept working until 65 for the health insurance, kept investing, and now, at 70, I had $2.3 million. No one knew. Not Marcus. Not my friends. Not my church. I lived in the same house, wore clothes from Target, drove my 12-year-old Honda, clipped coupons out of habit even though I didn't need to. Why? Because James and I had grown up poor. We'd seen family members lose everything, get scammed, get robbed. We learned to hide our wealth, to be invisible, to look ordinary. And now, that invisibility was my greatest weapon. Vanessa thought she was hunting a helpless old woman with nothing but a house. She had no idea she was fucking with a multi-millionaire who could buy and sell her 10 times over. 2 weeks after I hired him, Michael Bennett called. "Mrs. Hartwell, can you come to my office? I have information you need to see in person." I went that afternoon, telling Vanessa I was going to the senior center for bingo. She barely looked up from her phone. "Okay, have fun. Don't forget your pills." In Michael's office, he spread out a thick folder on his desk. "Your daughter-in-law is a professional predator," he said without preamble. "Her real name is Vanessa Marie Cole. She's 32, not 29 like she told your son, and this is her third marriage." He showed me the documents. Vanessa had been married at 23 to a man named Robert Delacroix. In Milwaukee, Robert's elderly parents lived with them. Within a year, both parents were placed in a nursing home. Within 2 years, both were dead. Robert and Vanessa sold the parents' house. Split the modest inheritance. They divorced 6 months later. Robert filed a police report, Michael said, claiming Vanessa had isolated his parents, stolen their medications, and deliberately placed them in substandard care facilities. But he couldn't prove it. No charges were filed. Marriage number 2 was to a man named Thomas Wright in Minneapolis. Same pattern. Thomas's widowed father lived with them. Within 18 months, the father was in a nursing home, the same one Vanessa was now researching for me. Sunshine Hills. The father died 6 months later from what was ruled as neglect by the facility. Thomas and Vanessa sold his father's property, divorced a year later. "This is her playbook," Michael said. "She targets men with aging parents who have property. She moves in, plays the concerned caretaker, builds a case for incompetency, institutionalizes the parent in the worst possible facility, waits for them to die, takes the money, and moves on." I felt sick. "And my son has no idea." "Your son is exactly her type, kind, trusting, guilty about not being a better son. She manipulates that guilt, makes him think she's helping when she's really hunting." "What about the nursing home?" I asked. "Sunshine Hills. Tell me about it." Michael pulled out more documents. "It's a 100-bed facility on the south side. It's been cited for violations repeatedly: understaffing, medication errors, neglect, abuse. But it stays open because it accepts Medicaid patients and there aren't enough beds in the city. The owner is drowning in debt and lawsuits. Word is he's looking to sell." An idea formed in my mind. A beautiful, perfect, terrible idea. "Michael, I need you to find out how much the owner wants for the facility, and I need you to do it without anyone knowing I'm asking." He raised his eyebrows. "What are you planning, Mrs. Hartwell?" I smiled. "Justice." While Michael worked on getting information about Sunshine Hills, I decided I needed to see it for myself. I needed to know exactly what Vanessa was planning for me. I told her I was going to visit my friend Marlene, who lived across town. Instead, I drove to Sunshine Hills Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. It was worse than I imagined. The building was a squat gray concrete block from the 1960s. The parking lot had potholes. The sign was faded and missing letters. It read, Sunshine Hills. I walked in. The lobby smelled like urine poorly masked by industrial cleaner. The linoleum floor was cracked. The furniture was ancient and stained. A receptionist sat behind bulletproof glass, not even looking up when I entered. "Can I help you?" she asked, still staring at her phone. "I'm considering placement here for myself," I said. "Can I tour the facility?" She shrugged. "Sign in. Someone will be with you." I waited 20 minutes. Finally, a tired-looking woman in scrubs appeared. "You here for the tour?" "Yes. I'm Keisha, charge nurse. Follow me." She led me through the facility with the air of someone who'd given up caring long ago. We passed residents slumped in wheelchairs in the hallway, some calling out for help, some just staring blankly. Many were in soiled clothes. The smell got worse as we went deeper into the building. "This is our main activity room," Keisha said, gesturing to a room where a TV blared and a dozen residents sat unattended. "No activities, no engagement, just warehousing." "How many staff members do you have per shift?" I asked. "Supposed to be 1 aide per 15 residents. Usually it's more like 1 per 25. We're always short-staffed." We passed the dining room. Residents eating pureed food that looked like baby food. No dignity. No choice. "What about social programs, outings, family involvement?" Keisha laughed bitterly. "Lady, we barely have enough staff to keep people clean and fed. There's no programs. Most of these folks never get visitors. Their families dump them here and forget about them." We toured the rest, the shared rooms with 4 beds each, the single bathroom per room, the medication cart that Keisha admitted was sometimes behind schedule, the call buttons that she said don't always get answered right away. This was where Vanessa wanted to put me. This was where she expected me to die alone and forgotten, while she sold my house and lived her best life. By the time I left, I wasn't just angry. I was resolved. This place needed to be shut down or transformed, and I was going to do both. Transform it and make Vanessa work in it. I called Michael from my car. "Find out the asking price for Sunshine Hills. I don't care what it costs, I'm buying it." It took Michael 2 days to get the information. The owner, a man named Gerald Kowalski, was asking $1.5 million for the property, business and existing Medicaid contracts. "He's desperate," Michael reported. "He's facing 3 lawsuits from families of deceased residents. The state is threatening to pull his license. He needs to sell fast." "Set up a meeting," I said. "But do it through an LLC. Don't use my name. I don't want Vanessa or Marcus to know anything about this." Michael set up a shell company, Hartwell Holdings LLC. We met with Kowalski and his lawyer the following week at a neutral location. Kowalski was a sweaty, nervous man in his 60s who looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. "I'm not gonna lie to you," he said. "The place has problems, but it's got good bones. The Medicaid contracts alone are worth the price." "I'm not interested in running it the way you've been running it," I said coldly. "I'm interested in transforming it into a quality facility." Kowalski blinked. "That'll cost you a fortune in renovations and staffing." "That's my concern, not yours. I'm offering you $1.8 million. Cash, close in 2 weeks. You walk away from all liabilities, I assume them. In exchange you sign an NDA and never speak about this sale to anyone." Kowalski looked at his lawyer, who nodded. That's a generous offer. It's a take it or leave it offer. I have other properties I'm considering." That was a lie, but he didn't need to know that. "I'll take it," he said quickly. We shook hands. 2 weeks later, I was the owner of Sunshine Hills Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. Total cost with legal fees and closing costs, $1.85 million. No one knew. Not Marcus, not Vanessa, not even Richard, my lawyer. Though I told him after the fact, only Michael knew, and he was bound by investigator-client confidentiality. Phase 1 of my plan was complete. Now came the harder part, waiting for Vanessa to make her move, while I set the trap that would destroy her. While I waited, I made other preparations. I met with Richard to finalize my estate documents. The trust was ironclad. The house couldn't be touched. My will was clear. Vanessa got nothing. Marcus got a minimal amount if he was still married to her. I also did something else. I contacted Adult Protective Services and filed a report against myself. Or rather, I reported that I was concerned about potential financial exploitation, that my daughter-in-law had access to my accounts, and that I wanted it documented that I was currently of sound mind and making decisions freely. The APS investigator, a kind woman named Sharon Davis, came to my house when Vanessa was out. "Mrs. Hartwell, Why are you reporting yourself? Because I believe someone is trying to build a case that I'm incompetent so they can take control of my assets. I want it documented that right now, today, I am completely lucid, capable and aware of what's happening. Sharon conducted a full assessment, cognitive tests, questions about my daily living, review of my finances. I passed everything with flying colors. Mrs. Hartwell, you're one of the sharpest 70-year-olds I've ever assessed. If anyone tries to claim you're incompetent, this report will refute it. Good, keep it in your files. I have a feeling I'll need it. I also installed hidden cameras in my house. Small, discreet ones in the living room, kitchen and hallway. I needed evidence of what Vanessa was doing, how she was gaslighting me, how she was setting me up. Over the next month, I captured everything, her hiding my things, her moving my medications, her telling Marcus I'd been confused when I'd done nothing of the sort, her making phone calls to Sunshine Hills, asking about admission procedures for an elderly relative. I saved it all, backed it up in multiple locations, built my case brick by brick. And then Vanessa made her big move. It was a Saturday morning. Marcus and Vanessa called me into the living room. Both of them looked serious. "Mom, we need to talk," Marcus said, his voice heavy with false concern that Vanessa had coached into him. I sat down, playing my part. "What's wrong?" Vanessa spoke, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "Dorothy, we love you, and because we love you we have to be honest. We're very worried about you. Your confusion is getting worse. The forgetting, the disorientation. We can't keep pretending it's not happening." "I'm fine," I said weakly. "I just have bad days sometimes." "It's more than bad days," Marcus said. He looked genuinely upset. He believed what she'd told him. "Mom, last week you left the stove on. Vanessa found it before anything happened, but what if she hadn't been home? You could have burned the house down." "That was a lie. I'd never left the stove on, but I couldn't prove it, and Vanessa knew it." "We've made an appointment for you," Vanessa continued, "with a specialist, Dr. Frederick Moss. He's a geriatric psychiatrist. He's agreed to do a home assessment." "I don't need a psychiatrist," I protested. "I'm not crazy." "No one's saying you're crazy, Mom," Marcus said, "but we need to know what's going on. Please, do this for us." I let tears come to my eyes. "Okay, if you think it's necessary." Dr. Moss came the following Tuesday. He was a thin, officious man in his 50s with wire-rimmed glasses and a clipboard. Vanessa had clearly briefed him beforehand because he treated me like I was already a dementia patient. "Mrs. Hartwell, I'm going to ask you some questions. Just answer honestly." He went through a standard cognitive assessment. "What year is it? Who is the president? Can you count backward from 100 by sevens?" I answered everything correctly, perfectly. I could see his frustration. Vanessa, sitting in the corner, looked annoyed. "Can you tell me what you had for breakfast?" Dr. Moss asked. "Oatmeal with blueberries, coffee with 1 sugar. And yesterday, scrambled eggs, toast, orange juice." He frowned at his clipboard. Nothing was wrong with my memory. Then Vanessa interjected. "Doctor, she's having a good day, but there are times when she's very confused. She left the stove on last week. She's been forgetting her medications. She gets lost in conversations." "I see," Dr. Moss said, making notes. "Mrs. Hartwell, do you feel safe living alone?" "I don't live alone," I pointed out. "Marcus and Vanessa live here. But during the day, when they're at work." "Do you feel safe then?" I hesitated, playing it perfectly. Sometimes, I get confused about what day it is." That was all he needed. That one admission. "I see, Mrs. Hartwell. I'm going to recommend that you have 24-hour supervision, either in-home care or placement in a supervised facility." "A nursing home?" I let my voice shake. "You want to put me in a nursing home?" "Only if you can't have adequate supervision at home," Dr. Moss said. "Let me talk to your family about options." He stepped into the kitchen with Marcus and Vanessa. I stayed in the living room, but I could hear them clearly. "Her cognitive function is borderline," Dr. Moss said. "She's high-functioning enough to mask symptoms, but there are clear signs of decline. I recommend placement in a memory care facility sooner rather than later." "We've been looking at facilities," Vanessa said. "There's one called Sunshine Hills that has availability." "I'm familiar with Sunshine Hills," Dr. Moss said, and I could hear the distaste in his voice. "It's adequate. If that's your only option financially." "It is," Vanessa lied smoothly. Dorothy doesn't have long-term care insurance and her resources are limited. That was my house she was talking about. My $650,000 house. My $2.3 million in investments. Limited resources. I can sign the paperwork recommending supervised care. Dr. Moss said. The family can proceed from there. I heard Marcus's voice uncertain. Is this really necessary? She seems okay most of the time. Marcus. Vanessa's voice was sharp. We've talked about this. You're not here during the day. You don't see what I see. We have to do what's best for her even if it's hard. I know, Marcus said quietly. I feel like we're giving up on her. We're not giving up. We're getting her the care she needs. Dr. Moss left. I sat in the living room pretending to be confused and frightened. Inside I was perfectly calm, perfectly ready. This was it. The moment I'd been waiting for. They were going to try to put me in Sunshine Hills. The nursing home I now owned? The next 2 weeks moved quickly. Vanessa, with Marcus's reluctant agreement, began the process of placing me at Sunshine Hills. She contacted the facility not knowing I owned it, filled out admission paperwork, arranged for Medicaid to cover the costs since I had no money, and scheduled my intake for the following Monday. During this time, I played my part perfectly. I became more confused. I forgot to take medications. I wandered around the house at night. Every incident was documented by Vanessa. Photographed, recorded, used to build her case. What she didn't know was that I was documenting her too. Every lie. Every manipulation. Every phone call to her friend Brittany where she celebrated her impending victory. The night before my placement, Marcus came to my room. He sat on my bed and I could see he'd been crying. Mom, I'm so sorry, I feel like I'm failing you. I took his hand. Baby, you're doing what you think is right. Vanessa says this is best, that you'll get round-the-clock care, that you'll be safe. But it feels wrong. It feels like I'm abandoning you. I wanted to tell him everything right then, but I couldn't. He needed to see it for himself. He needed to witness what his wife really was. Marcus, I need you to promise me something. Anything, Mom? Come visit me. Often. Don't leave me there and forget about me. He hugged me, sobbing. I won't. I promise. I'll come every day. Good. Because I'm going to need you to see something. Something important. He pulled back, confused. What do you mean? You'll understand soon. Just promise you'll visit. I promise. The next morning, Vanessa drove me to Sunshine Hills in my own car. Marcus had to work or Vanessa had convinced him he couldn't miss work. Either way, it was just the two of us. During the drive, she dropped the act completely. You know, Dorothy, I almost feel bad for you, she said. Conversationally, you really thought you were so smart, holding on to that house, living like you were still relevant. But all you were doing was sitting on an asset you were too stupid to monetize. I said nothing. I'm going to sell that house so fast, she continued. Marcus and I are already looking at condos downtown. Luxury buildings. The life I deserve. And you'll rot in that facility. Alone. Forgotten. Just like the old woman you are. I turned to look at her. We'll see, I said quietly. She laughed. What are you going to do? You can't even remember what day it is. We arrived at Sunshine Hills. Vanessa walked me in like a prisoner being delivered to jail. The receptionist, the same one from my first visit, barely looked up. Dorothy Hartwell. Admission, Vanessa said. Sign in. Someone will process her. We waited in the lobby. The same smells, the same sounds of neglect. Vanessa looked around with barely concealed disgust. God, this place is a shithole. Well, it's what Medicaid covers. A nursing supervisor came out. A different woman than Keisha. Mrs. Hartwell, come with me. Family can say goodbye here. Vanessa gave me a perfunctory hug. Bye, Dorothy, we'll come visit soon. That was a lie and we both knew it. I let the supervisor lead me away down the dingy hallway to my assigned room. A 4-person room with 3 other elderly women in various states of confusion and neglect. This is your bed, the supervisor said, pointing to a narrow bed with a thin mattress. Bathrooms down the hall. Meals are at 7, 12 and 5. If you need anything, press your call button. She pointed to a button that I'd already learned rarely got answered. She left. I sat on the bed. One of my roommates was moaning. Another was calling for her daughter who clearly never came. I sat there for exactly 1 hour. Then I stood up, walked out of the room, down the hallway to the administrative offices, and knocked on the director's door. The current director, a woman named Patricia whom I'd hired to replace the old management, looked up in surprise. "Mrs. Hartwell, is everything all right with your room?" "No," I said, my voice clear and firm, no trace of confusion. "Everything is not all right, and we're about to fix it. Call an all-staff meeting. Right now. It's time everyone knew who actually owns this place." Patricia smiled. She'd been waiting for this moment. "Yes, Mom." Within an hour, every staff member on shift was gathered in the facility's largest room. About 40 people, including nurses, aides, kitchen staff and maintenance workers. They looked confused and worried, probably thinking they were being fired or the facility was closing. I stood at the front of the room. Patricia had set up a microphone. Some of the residents who could participate were wheeled in too. I wanted them to hear this. "Good afternoon," I began. "My name is Dorothy Hartwell. Some of you just admitted me as a patient this morning, but that's not who I really am." I held up a document, the deed to the property. "As of 3 weeks ago, I am the owner of Sunshine Hills. I purchased this facility through an LLC specifically because I was investigating elder abuse and neglect, and what I found was unconscionable." A murmur went through the crowd. "This facility has been operating below basic standards of care. Residents sit in soiled clothes. Call buttons go unanswered. Meals are inadequate. Activities are non-existent, and it ends today." I looked at Patricia. Effective immediately, Patricia Jenkins is the new permanent director. She will be implementing new protocols, new staffing ratios, and new standards. We will be hiring additional staff at competitive wages. We will be renovating this facility, and we will be providing the quality care that every resident deserves. Some of the staff started clapping. Others looked nervous. Probably the ones who'd been neglectful. "If you've been doing your job with compassion and care, despite being understaffed and under-resourced, you'll be rewarded," I continued. "If you've been cutting corners and neglecting residents, this is your notice. We will be reviewing every staff member's performance. This facility will meet the highest standards, or you won't work here." Then I turned to the residents who were present. "And for those of you who are living here, I promise you this. You will be treated with dignity. You will be cared for. You will not be forgotten." One elderly man in a wheelchair started crying. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you." After the meeting, I met privately with Patricia. "I need you to do something for me," I said. "There's a woman named Vanessa Hartwell who placed me here. She's going to call in the next few days asking about me, checking if I'm settled. Don't tell her I'm the owner. Tell her I'm adjusting, and tell her we're short-staffed and need to hire additional nursing aides. See if she's interested in a job." Patricia's eyes widened. "You want to hire the woman who tried to dump you here? I want to give her exactly what she deserves. Can you do it?" Patricia smiled slowly. "It would be my absolute pleasure." 3 days later, Vanessa called Sunshine Hills to check on me. Patricia took the call personally. "Mrs. Hartwell is adjusting," Patricia said. "Though I must say she seems more lucid than her intake paperwork suggested. She's been asking for her son. She has good days and bad days," Vanessa said dismissively. "Is she being cooperative?" "Very much so. Mrs. Hartwell, can I ask you something? I saw on your information that you work in pharmaceutical sales. Have you ever considered healthcare work?" "Excuse me? We're desperately short-staffed here. We're looking for nursing aides. The pay is $15 an hour to start, but it's steady work and we provide training. I know it's a career change, but with the economy the way it is..." There was a pause. Vanessa was probably thinking about the fact that her pharmaceutical sales job was commission-based, and she'd been underperforming. The Mercedes lease was expensive. The luxury lifestyle was expensive, and with me in the nursing home, she and Marcus would need to start covering their own rent again, since I wouldn't be there to subsidize them. "What would the job entail?" Vanessa asked. "Basic patient care, helping residents with bathing, dressing, feeding, toileting. It's not glamorous, but it's important work." I'll think about it. We're hiring urgently. If you're interested, we're doing interviews tomorrow. I could fit you in at 3 p.m. Another pause. "Okay, yes, I'll come in." Patricia hung up and immediately called me. She took the bait. "Perfect. Make sure she gets hired. I don't care if she's the worst candidate you've ever seen. I want her working here." The next day, Vanessa came in for her interview. I watched from Patricia's office on a security monitor as Vanessa sat in the lobby looking disgusted by her surroundings, clearly desperate for money. Patricia interviewed her, asked basic questions, and despite Vanessa's complete lack of healthcare experience or empathy, offered her the job on the spot. "When can you start?" "Monday," Vanessa said. "Perfect. I'll have training materials ready for you." Vanessa left, probably feeling like this was a temporary humiliation she'd endure until she sold my house. She had no idea what was coming. Vanessa's first day as a nursing aide at Sunshine Hills was a Monday morning. She showed up in designer jeans and expensive shoes, completely inappropriate for the job. Patricia gently corrected her. "You'll need scrubs and comfortable non-slip shoes. The work is physical, you'll be on your feet all day." Vanessa's face tightened, but she nodded. "I'll get some." Her trainer was Keisha, the same exhausted nurse who'd given me the tour. Keisha had since gotten a raise and was thriving under the new management, but she still had no patience for people who didn't care about the residents. "First thing," Keisha said, "we're going to change Mrs. Patterson. She's incontinent and needs to be changed every 2 hours." Vanessa turned pale. "Changed?" "Yeah, adult diapers. You're gonna learn how to do it properly so she maintains her dignity." I watched on the security monitor as Vanessa struggled through her first diaper change, gagging, nearly vomiting, her face a mask of disgust. "This is disgusting," she muttered. "This is the job," Keisha said sharply. "These are human beings who deserve respect. If you can't handle it, leave now." Vanessa gritted her teeth and finished the task. Over the next few hours she learned to feed residents who couldn't feed themselves, to help them to the bathroom, to clean up when they didn't make it in time, to listen to their confused ramblings with patience she didn't possess. She was terrible at it, rough, impatient, disgusted, but Patricia made her continue. At lunch, Vanessa sat in the break room looking shell-shocked. She pulled out her phone to text someone. Probably Brittany, complaining about her humiliation. That's when I walked in. Vanessa looked up. Her face went from exhausted to confused to absolutely shocked. "Dorothy?" she said. "What are you? Why aren't you in your room?" "Because I don't live here, Vanessa. I own here." The blood drained from her face. "What?" I sat down across from her. "Let me explain this very simply. 3 weeks ago I bought this facility. I own Sunshine Hills. I own this building. I own the business. And as of this moment, I own you too." You can't, you're supposed to be incompetent. You're supposed to have dementia. I never had dementia. I was acting, gathering evidence, watching you build your little plan to institutionalize me and steal my house. Her mouth opened and closed. No words came out. "And speaking of evidence," I continued, "I have documentation of everything. The forged checks, $8,000 worth of theft, the gaslighting, the false statements to my doctor, the planning with your friend Brittany, the research into how to have me declared incompetent, all of it. Marcus will never believe you," Vanessa said, her voice shaking. "He trusts me. Marcus is on his way here right now. I called him this morning, told him we needed to have a family meeting. He should be here any minute." As if on cue, there was a knock on the break room door. Patricia opened it and Marcus walked in, looking confused. "Mom, they said you were here, but you look great. You look completely normal." "That's because I am completely normal, baby. I've always been normal. Sit down, we need to talk." Marcus sat down slowly. He looked from me to Vanessa to Patricia, trying to understand what was happening. "Marcus," I began gently, "your wife has been planning to have me declared incompetent, steal my house and abandon me in this nursing home to die. This is the same thing she did to her previous 2 husbands' parents." "That's insane," Vanessa said. "She's delusional. This is the dementia talking." "I have proof," I said calmly. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the break room TV. "I've been recording everything." I played the audio of Vanessa's phone conversation with Brittany, the one where she called me the old bitch, and laid out her entire plan. Marcus's face went white as he listened to his wife's voice, cold and calculating, planning my destruction. When it finished, he looked at Vanessa with an expression I'd never seen on his face before. "Pure betrayal. Tell me this is fake," he said. "Tell me someone edited this." "Marcus, listen to me," Vanessa started. Is it real?" he demanded. She couldn't answer. Her silence was the answer. "I also have evidence of the forged checks," I continued. "The stolen money, the false statements to my doctor, the research into guardianship and conservatorship. And I have evidence that you did this before, twice, to 2 other families." I laid out printed documents showing her pattern, The marriages, the elderly parents, the nursing home placements, the property sales, the divorces. Marcus was shaking. You married me to steal from my mother? No. Vanessa finally found her voice. I loved you. I still love you. This got out of hand, but it wasn't. You told your friend I'd probably die within a year from neglect. I interrupted. You specifically chose this facility because it had the worst record. You wanted me to die. Marcus stood up abruptly. I'm calling the police. Already done, I said. Detective Williams from Elder Abuse is waiting in the director's office. He's been reviewing the evidence for the past hour. Vanessa bolted for the door, but Patricia was blocking it, and behind her stood a uniformed police officer. Vanessa Hartwell, the officer said, you're under arrest for elder financial abuse, fraud and attempted theft. You have the right to remain silent. Vanessa screamed. She actually screamed, a high-pitched shriek of rage and frustration as the officer handcuffed her. You can't do this. I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant. That was news to everyone in the room. What? Marcus said. I'm pregnant with your baby, Marcus. You can't let them arrest me. Marcus looked at her with disgust. I don't believe you. And even if it's true, it doesn't change what you did. They led her away, still screaming, still making threats. When she was gone, Marcus collapsed into a chair, his head in his hands. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have seen it. I should have protected you. I sat next to him and took his hand. Baby, she was a professional. She's been doing this for years. You're a victim too, but I was going to put you in a nursing home. I was going to let her. He couldn't finish. You were manipulated. She's good at what she does, but it's over now. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Marcus asked, you really own this place? I really do. Bought it 3 weeks ago. $1.85 million. His eyes widened. Mom, where did you get that kind of money? I smiled. Your father and I were very good savers. I have about $2.3 million in investments, plus the house. I'm a multi-millionaire, baby. I just never told anyone. Marcus started laughing. It was slightly hysterical, but it was laughter. She thought you were broke. She thought all you had was the house. I know. That's what made this so perfect. What happens now? Now? Vanessa goes to trial. She'll probably get 3 to 5 years for elder abuse and fraud. You divorce her, you rebuild your life, and I continue transforming this facility into a place where elders are treated with dignity. Can I help? I looked at my son. You want to help? I want to do something good. Something that matters. I failed you, Mom. Let me make it right. You didn't fail me. But if you want to help, I'd love that. This facility needs people who care. People who see residents as human beings, not just bodies to process. Marcus nodded. I'll quit my job. I'll work here full-time, whatever you need. We'll start you in administration, living wage, good benefits. You'll learn the business from the ground up. Thank you, Mom. He hugged me tight. I love you. I'm so sorry. I love you too, baby. And I forgive you. Now let's get to work. Epilogue. 6 months later. Vanessa was convicted of multiple counts of elder financial abuse, fraud and attempted theft. The pregnancy turned out to be fake, just another manipulation. She was sentenced to 4 years in state prison. Her previous victims, Robert's parents' estate and Thomas's father's estate, were reopened for investigation. Civil suits were filed. Vanessa would be paying restitution for the rest of her life. Marcus divorced her while she was awaiting trial. He threw himself into working at Sunshine Hills, which we renamed Hartwell House of Dignity. With my money and Marcus's dedication, we transformed the facility completely. We renovated every room, private and semi-private rooms only. No more 4-person warehouses. We hired sufficient staff at living wages. We created activities programs, art therapy, music therapy, garden spaces. We brought in therapy animals. We made sure every resident had regular activities, social engagement and dignity. We became a model facility. Other nursing homes came to study what we'd done. We won awards, but more importantly, we gave people who'd been forgotten, abandoned, warehoused, a place where they mattered. I moved back into my house, but I spent half my time at Hartwell House talking to residents, advocating for them, making sure they were treated the way my mother would have wanted to be treated. Marcus met someone new, a social worker named Angela who worked with our residents. She was kind, genuine, and nothing like Vanessa. They're taking it slow, but I have hope. One afternoon I was walking through the facility when I passed what used to be the break room where I'd confronted Vanessa. I stopped and looked in, remembering that moment. Patricia came up beside me. Thinking about that day? Yeah. The day justice was served. You know what's funny? Patricia said. Vanessa actually applied for a job here from prison, an inmate work program, said she had nursing home experience. I laughed. What did you tell her? I told her we only hire people who actually care about the residents. She didn't qualify. I smiled. Perfect. We stood there for a moment watching residents and staff interact with genuine care and affection. This place that had once been a warehouse of neglect was now a home. A real home. Your mother would be proud, Patricia said softly. You took the worst intentions someone had for you and turned it into something beautiful. That's the best revenge, I said. Not just surviving but transforming the battlefield. I'm 71 now. I'm healthier than ever, sharper than ever, more purpose-driven than ever. Vanessa wanted me to die alone in a nursing home. Instead, I own a nursing home where no one dies alone, where everyone matters, where dignity is the standard, not the exception. She wanted to bury me. Instead, I built a legacy. And that's how you win. Thank you for watching.